he might have been. And then that Ford boy, he had one, a big dark buckskin, black muzzle. He had one on. He was a big dog. I forgot what he called him now, but the boy's name was Ford. Last name was Ford. And I saw the Happy dog at the same time we did the Hank dog. They brought Mr. McDougal brought that Happy dog over there, and that dog, he was blind. He'd gotten on somebody's pet, and Mr. McDougal hit him behind the head with a 2x4, and it blinded him. But I always liked him. I always liked him overall out of all them dogs. I just liked the smaller dogs, and he was a good-looking dog. They rode him stone blind, and he can get it on. And when they'd scratch him, he'd smell for the dog. He'd run into the side of the pit and smell for the dog. And the whole time I ever heard Bass say something like he said, we're probably going to hell for doing something like this to this dog.
Dang.
So they were gang acting dogs, and no question about it. The reason I didn't use any of them was because I already had the dogs that I had. They had good air. Those particular dogs. Katie started really heavy inbreeding them off of Redboy. Mm. They had good air, but they didn't show a lot of mouth. I ain't saying every one of them was like that, but they weren't showing any mouth. And they didn't have, when you'd walk them, they didn't have that strong tensile pulling strength.
Yeah.
And some of them dogs that I had were the same way. They had tremendous air, but they didn't have, and agile and all, but they didn't have that real strong tensile strength. But when I got some of them Carver dogs, man, oh man, I thought I'd got hooked to a doggone diesel engine. Them things were super powerful dogs. And so I never used any of them, messed with any of them. And of course, Katie sold a lot of them and so forth. But like I say, all the siblings I saw them all. There was a female, but she was cold. And Miles, his name was Lewis Miles. He shot her. He didn't keep her. And then so all the thing that was left, I believe, was those male dogs. And they were listed. I wrote maybe 2 or 3 good articles on all of that on that Pitbull database site. And but Wilbur Martin was the actual owner of the Redboy dog, and Bass ended up with him. And of course, then Bass, but he might have never did all that he did if Wilbur had kept him. But Bass, did what he did, and of course, Katie carried it on from there.
Yeah. But
Katie and Bass, they were partners there for a while. And then another reason with the Redboy dogs was anytime the ones that I'm not naming every one of them. I know some of these fellows are hardcore Redboy dogs, but everyone that I saw in top competition.
Yeah.
Where you had a bad dog on the other end. It was real end up. I ain't talking about the crosses. I'm talking about just the real inbred ones. One of them was Frank Jacobs. He had one. I think she was a champion, and she matched into that Face dog I had, and Face killed her in about 2 minutes. It was over with. And then he come back with a hybrid cross, and I mean that dog was bad. Frank come back with a dog. I don't know where they got that dog from, but I think she might have been off maybe that Bose dog, and maybe some of that Redboy cross he had. And she was a monster, and Andy did the work on the dog. Was out in the PD swamps, and they was using generator and lights like that, and he was nervous, and he hadn't got the collar off the dog. He hadn't realized he had the collar on her. He was telling them, let my dog get her eyes adjusted before I bring her over in the pit. Then he realized he had the collar on her. She was leaning over the pit. As he got the collar off and had her almost in, they turned loose their dog. And that dog got a vicious shoulder hold on the face bitch and slammed her head up against the wall to where she could. I mean, it just totally just idled her, almost knocked her out. And so she was just shaking to carry on with that dog. I said, well, Lord, it's the end of this. And she, I don't know how she did it. She got up on her feet and she pulled her shoulder out of that dog's mouth. Did her turn and went right back up. I thought she was going to go into the back legs, but she wouldn't do that. But she come around and went right up in that dog, where that dog's throat touches the chest bone, breastbone or whatever. Pushed her right back up in the corner, and she brought it together. And that dog just leaned its head over like it went to sleep, dead.
Damn.
And so that was two there. And then the other one, this is where Bass he grabbed up the what do you call it, the money they take, the gate money. He took up both times. He took up the gate money, and then when he saw what was going down, he jumped in the car and run off down the road. That's when everybody quit fooling with him after that. And then later, he wasn't long after that, he died of a heart attack. And of course, Katie in it, she got the dogs, all of the dogs. But one of them was a bitch Katie had called Mouthy, and she went into Rage, that Rage dog, Johnny Johnson's Rage. That lasted about maybe 3 minutes tops. And it was over with another kill. And then the other one, of all the dogs the Bass decided to try was Molly B. And when Molly B was around, I just tell anybody the best thing to do with Molly B is let her be. I mean, that was, oh my Lord, you talk about a killing machine. You ever see a lion on Africa hit a zebra full force, running full force, hit a zebra? Well, that's how that's Molly B. And when they released them dogs, Bass bought a big Redboy bitch he had. He said she'd catch Molly B on the head and all and wear her out. But I suspect what he was doing all along was he was just trying to get gate money, because it drew a lot of crowds,
Yeah.
And get all that gate money and run off with the gate money. I don't think he had any chance of winning. But I do know this: he liked to keep a cigar in his mouth. And when he saw Molly B, when Molly B hit that female, Redboy female, that female dog, she went squalling. Bass's eyes got, I mean, it's like he was with shock. His eyes got real big, and he almost swallowed that cigar. And he when he saw that, he turned around and pushed his way through the crowd, went outside, jumped in his car in a whole buggy, and left Katie there all by herself. And Jacobs and all those Indians, boy, they were out for blood. They were bad.
Dang. I'll be mad too, Will. Dang.
And she told him, please don't hurt me. I'm a woman. She said, don't hurt me. I'm a woman. I got children at home.
Dang. Yeah.
But
so did you? Oh, go ahead.
So that's one of the reasons I didn't see. But now, if you talk with EWO, there's about 3 strands of those Redboy dogs, and some of them might have been crosses.
Yeah.
That were that they said were good dogs. So I'm not debating that. I ain't saying every one of them dogs that would come off Redboy didn't have a mouth and weren't good dogs. But see, a lot of that they did amongst themselves up there in Pembroke and around in those areas. A lot of it they were doing amongst themselves. And Indians.
Yeah.
And Vernon told me, he said, Johnny, I can't never get no match like that. He said, I try to match them. They won't match me. He said, I can't get none of them kind of matches. Not that, it would have been easier or harder or whatever.
Yeah.
But they just, I think, what I believe, Jocko is what made them dogs. They always say Redboy Jocko. It's the Jocko dog that made them dogs. He put the body in them. He put the power and the strength in them. And see, the key thing with them Jocko Redboy or whatever they want to call them, if you had a 45-pound Jocko Redboy dog, it weighed 45 pounds. A lot of these local dogs, if you brought in a 45-pound dog, weighed the same weight, that Jocko dog, he'd be probably 6 inches longer. He would be taller. I mean, just a bigger dog.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your heavyweights, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They really could weigh, some of them weigh 250 pounds and look normal.
Mm-hmm.
But they trim them down and they go at a much lighter weight. And so that's kind of where them Jocko dogs were. They were big dogs for their weight, and they were also really strong dogs. Yeah. And they had a lot of the foul fighting techniques from that Hank dog, because he was a back end dog. I mean, he would go to the back end, and so they had a lot of that trait too. I saw Jocko's, might have been his last show before Porter got arrested and all his dogs were destroyed. I didn't know Porter personally. I don't even know what he looked like. I just know I was up at his place on that last show because Porter had bought Jocko. And I believe it was going into a Crenshaw dog, and that thing was a pretty tough match, and it went tit for tat there, and finally both dogs were laying down, and Mr. Chavis, he hollered over there. He said, "Jocko," get up there and kill that dog. And believe it or not, that sucker raised up and went right into that dog's soft underbelly and took him out. Now, he also said this. He said, "Jocko, get up there and kill that dog. If you kill that dog, I'll kiss your," I'll have to say arse.
Yeah.
So I'll kiss your arse. I'm going to tell you what. He made it good. I saw him do it. After Zoe, he raised his tail up and he did what he said he was going to do.
Yeah. Hey, he told him to get up. He told him to get up. He got up.
He just raised up, and they were both laying down. One head was toward Jocko's stifles, and Jocko's head was at the other dog's stifles, and they were like out of holes trying to catch their air or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when Mr. Chavis said, "Jocko, get up there, kill that dog." And he raised up, went right in that good, because he would go to that back end. That's where he liked to go. He went right in that soft underbelly of that dog, and that was the deciding factor on that. And then later, Porter got busted, and all his dogs. They confiscated all his dogs and put them to sleep. Said he had one little dog off my yard that was off of directly off the Hank dog, and my little Tina bitch, her name was Brandy, and he was planning on breeding her back to the Jocko dog, and she was a really good dog, but she was a chewer and chewed out all her teeth. Made a good roll dog, because you could just grab her and pull her right off. She didn't have no teeth.
Yeah.
But anyhow, he was going to try to raise a litter off of her and see what they come up with, but all them dogs got destroyed.
Dang. Did you see Hank's sister Gilman's Chipper? Did you ever see her before, or did you know her?
No, I never saw any of those. Only dogs I saw. I think I was in. Maybe I saw the Easy Dog. That was down. That might have been out in Mississippi. I'm not sure there. The other one was in Texas. I saw one there. But I never saw. I did see Mr. Gilman himself, but I never really got to talk to him. I saw Maurice Carver. I shook his hand, spoke to him, but I didn't know none of them. You know, I was an outsider. They didn't know me, and I really didn't know them. And a lot of them told me they ain't gonna talk with you too much, or they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
But I saw Gilman. He was a big man. Gilman was, and I saw Don Maloney. He always dressed up like he dressed up like a dandy, like some of them cowboy gamblers or whatever, with all the fancy hats and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. He was real decked out that day. And I see there was another one. I did see Stinson and Glover when that show went down on that last show with that Easy Dog. It's an ironic story on that with Mayfield.
Mm.
Mayfield, Leo Kennard matched into Alonzo Pratt. And Alonzo was using his Mike dog, beautiful dog. Vernon saw him and he knew Alonzo. I knew Alonzo and spoke to him, but I didn't really know him. Never been on his dog yard. But he made that match with Kennard, and see, Kennard now was figuring he was going to drive all the way from North Carolina all the way out there to Mississippi, drive that dog all the way out there. But Pratt was a very smart fella, and he had a friend that had an airplane, had a good a pilot. And what he did was he put the majority of the keep on Mike there, and then about possibly the last week, he might have stayed at Eli Bush's place. I'm not sure exactly where he stayed now. Or Junior Bush, his name was Junior Bush. But he flew out there right in Kennard's backyard and had that dog rested up. And of course, then Don, he came in with a big old, I don't want to call them 10-gallon hats, this huge big hat. And you can see it if you have any of the old Pete Sparks magazines. You can see what he's doing in the handling. When it come time for Mike to scratch, he would try to cover that dog with that hat, but it didn't work. And Mike wiped that dog out. And so here we go. All these years later, he matched into Stinson and Glover, and they have a dog. There was two of those dogs. Both of them were champions. Really bad bulldogs. One of them was I forgot what her name was, but she was off of Zebo and maybe a Kobe bred bitch of sorts. But that's the dog they used, and both dogs were in immaculate condition. I mean, immaculate condition. And but the problem with Don's dog, she liked that front end, and you don't go into a Pratt, Alonzo Pratt dog back then that just wants to do the front end.
Yeah,
you better have something that eat that head up, and maybe go to the back end. You don't want to trade. He has devastating back dogs, and that's where they love to live. And they'd go up their eyeballs in your dog's chest. Well, that's what happened. They went together, and they were in tip-top shape. But as that thing went systematically on, and it didn't go a real long time, that I remember, but that Zebo bitch just slowly bit that Easy bitch right down in the floor. She just bite right on down in the floor, and she lost. So it was kind of ironic, that Alonzo beat Don them with the Mike dog a good many years back, and then here it is later on, another one of Alonzo's dogs beats him again, beats Mayfield again.
Dang. Yeah. Oh, good old days, man. Good old days.
Oh, yeah. It'll never be like it was. There was a fella called me a while back. He said he was going to do something. And then he called me back later within a day or two. And his dog had got ear bites. And they won't know whether they ought to go with the dog. I said, no. I said, because he made the mention that when the vet put the drops in the dog's ear for the infection.
Yeah.
I think they'd already give the dog some ear bite powder and all, and the vet didn't see the bites, but he saw the infection from the bites. And so I said, you just ante up and pay that forfeit, learn a lesson. I said, keeping the ear bites out your dog's part of the conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's something a lot of young fellows would ask me. They want to ask me about questions like that, about conditioning and all that. One thing that I tell them is, if you're going to use kibble feed, you got to do, if you read real close between the lines on James Crenshaw's keep, he always arrived at the site 30 hours prior. Notice the 30 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do the kibble, you got to, on the rest days, you got to cycle that dog out on a 30-hour cycle up to the weigh date. You got to count backwards.
Yeah.
A lot of these dog men, and you got to stop and think, when you feed your dogs every day, you generally feed them at a certain time. You feed them one time a day. Well, when you start working a dog, you're even from the very beginning, you are no longer feeding on a 24-hour cycle.
Yeah.
You're no longer doing that. And the longer the keep gets, the longer the feed gets further out. And then being its kibble too, it stays in the dog longer. And so that's when you have to go to 30. Now there's some that say they perfected a raw keep, and that's great. There's always something to learn. The raw keep, you could probably draw it back to maybe 26 hours to be safe.
Yeah.
Because the food's going to pass just straight raw food is going to go through faster. But what a lot of them would do is they would put the dog on the rest days. They would put the dog back on feeding him once a day, like 24 hours. And by the time they get around to showtime, they ain't going to be able to clean that dog out, and then the dog runs hot.
Yeah.
So they think it was something else. But the dog runs hot. If they got anything in their guts, it will cause them to run hot.
Hey, Mr. Johnny,
And
hold on. Can you hold on for a split second, Mr. Johnny?
Yeah.
Hold on for a split second.
Yeah.
I'm back now. Sorry about that. We were speaking on the keep.
That's all right. Right. Another mistake that's made is they'll ask me. They've asked me questions in the past. Now I didn't do a lot of dogs. Vernon, he was the dog man. I mean, he was the conditioner. He knew what. So he had a place on that Marine base. He was a master staff sergeant. He would have them boys walk his dogs in the morning, and then he had a big. He go back there on them where they run them tanks through them swamps, big old wide soft roads, and he had some mechanic. He was a supply sergeant. And he had them fellas make him something where he could idle that truck down where he could run a certain speed, like maybe 4 to 5 miles per hour. And then he had them in the metal shop. He had them build him a thing that went over the hood of the truck, and an arm went all the way out where the dog was attached to, sort of like what you do on a swinging Jenny. And he had it set up where he could release the hook if he wanted to, and the dog would be far enough from the truck, and he didn't worry about him running up under the truck. And he'd take them dogs down through there and just jog them, just steady jogging. He'd lope them some and jog them some. And then if a possum or something crossed that road, that dog would see the eyes shining on that possum. And you see him hit that, he'd bring that line real tight. And so then he would release him, and that dog would probably sprint a good 50 to maybe 100 yards sprint wide open and hit that possum. And then he'd just ease on up there to him, break him off the possum, throw the possum in the woods, and he'd hand walk the dog a little ways, then his breathing get more normal. And he'd hook him up and go again. He usually did about, depending on the size of the dog, he'd do anywhere from 5, 8 to 12 miles or that type of road work. Then he had those Marines, them young Marines that would help him during the day. And if he had a bad weather situation, he had these big old hangar bays on that base, and some of them didn't have concrete in them. He would he'd use a treadmill and then hand walk them. They were big enough where you could hand walk them in there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he never went over 30 minutes on a treadmill. He did not like a treadmill. He said there's too much danger in a treadmill, messing that dog's kidneys up, burning her feet out, and things like that. He never used it only when he had to.
Mm-hmm.
And so him and Crenshaw were very, very similar in the way they did things. And another thing they'd ask me, and people don't take it into account. They'd ask me some questions, and I say, well, first of all, where do you live?
Yeah.
What part of the country do you live in? And if they lived up north, I said, well, that's cold weather up there in the wintertime, right? I said, well, you're going to have to use a higher protein and fat type feed to keep that dog warm in that kind of climate.
Yeah.
And then the other one was, up to down here where we at, particularly in the summertime, you would use lower protein and lower fat if you're going to go with the the kibble,
mm-hmm.
add the kibble. And so you got to ratio that stuff out. And then I also advised them, I said, don't ever go over 500 miles in any direction. Because if you go much further than that, and the dog travels, a lot of them dehydrate.
Yeah.
If you drive too far with them, they'll get dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would tell them that, they think I was crazy. And
they probably found out the hard way, though, if they ever had got in that situation.
Yeah, and see, around here, and the other thing I would tell them about is what kind of bloodlines you got. If you got a lot of them Eli, Boudreaux kinds of dogs, they're going to be a lot of them going to be hard bite barn stormers.
Yeah.
I said, you don't bring that sucker out in the hot summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you don't pull him as tight either. You pull him about 3 ribs and leave a little back on him, because you want him strong as he can be. But you don't pull him raw. You don't raw bone the dog.
Yeah.
And I said, personally, I love the Daibo strand of dogs. I always liked them. I said, but they ain't necessarily deep game. And I said, if you want to know for sure if yours are deep game, and of course, EWO told me he knew one fella that had some of them, that they were deep game because that guy checked them hard. I said, I tell you how you can find out how game they are. Break him out in the summertime. Put some wind in him. Bring him out in the summertime on a bigger dog, and let him get extra hot and see what happens.
Yeah.
I said, if he goes on, because that's what Master over Redboy. He checked him in the hot summertime.
Yeah. You know that you can go on that summer.
There's different styles of bloodlines, different styles of dogs. And a good dog man knows the styles and the strengths and the weaknesses. And they have a real powerful, strong, hard-going dogs. They best for the wintertime. And them good lanky dogs that you can pull lean. And like a lot of Redboy dogs, they would fare better during the hot weather. Because that's what Katie would do. Them boys would come out of them mountains, and it didn't really much matter if they came in the winter or if they came in the summertime. But she wanted them in the summertime, and they'd drop that out of them mountains. And one of them I was with too. Them guys' dogs were sitting out there under the shade trees, and they were just a half of their tongues was out of their mouth. They were not used to that kind of weather. Katie would whip them.
Yep. Not used to the weather.
Yep. So all that plays a factor.
Mm-hmm.
And down here where me and you live, a cat mill's fine. I don't have nothing against a cat mill. I like a cat mill. But how many dogs you know run them?
Yeah, you're right about that.
I don't know of any that run them. And I had an 80-foot one. And also, it gets cold down here with this humidity. And I'm standing out there that type meal works the best in desert weather, like down in Texas and places like that.
Yeah.
And it's a very good way to do it. And of course, you got to know how to build it and how to set it up right. But I'm standing out there in the cold. I mean, it's cold and that dog running and the wind's blowing on us. I said, I don't know. We ain't gonna be doing this a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I had to do is I built me about an 18-foot round table, but I built it differently than what most people build them. I used a whole rear end of a positive traction rear end with the hog head gears in it. Everything was intact, and I built it out 18 foot, and I padded it. I didn't over pad it, but I padded it, and I was able to see some Middleton. He worked for Sunoco, and he could get that felt, that cotton felt that they used to whatever they used it for. And I got a bunch of that. That's what that felt won't burn a dog's feet like carpet will. And so that's what I used. And it run knee high. I could sit down in a chair, and the table was knee high to me, and I could touch the dog, handle the dog. And so I would use that and hand walk it. And I beat with the dog Roy Braddock had. He had a heck of a dog called Mr. Clean. Solid white dog, red nose, yellow eyes, red toenails. And he's in the pedigrees on that site that I was on. I put his pedigree in there. He was a heck of a dog. He was something else. And we went into Lonzo Pratt, and me and my wife worked McLean. We worked him 3 times a day. We did a lot of hand walking. She would hand walk him in the morning, and I know I'd get up early in the morning, hand walk him, hand walk him out about in the middle of the day. Then when I come in that night, I would hand walk him and do some the table work. Mm-hmm. And we had him in good shape. And them rascals, Atlas Brewer and that bunch, well, we went under, so we went all the way up there to them. And they rode us around in them hills, around and around. They knew exactly where to go, but they rode us around, must have been an hour. And McLean got sick. And so Roy, he's all bad, upset, and he didn't even want to weigh the dogs. So he didn't even weigh them. And there was Lonzo with his dog sitting in his corner, ready to go, resting and whatnot. And with all that, when Roy was bringing McLean over into the pit, he turned loose on us, and he got a good chest hold, and it looked bad. And then that old McLean dog just reached over there and caught that dog by the nose, pulled him out. Then he grabbed him into deep down in the burr of the ear, and he just worked on him. And it probably didn't last 20 minutes. That dog wouldn't scratch. He was over with.
Dang.
And I'm going to try to think what the other was with that Hank dog. Me and Andy Al did him to go into that. But so I didn't do a bunch of dogs. Yeah. Because I couldn't take the chance of. I had a very good job, and I stayed in the background.
I understand that.
Yeah, I let Vernon get all the glory.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
He liked it anyhow, so I let him. A lot of people do not like him. It's kind of like with old California Jack. California Jack was an intelligent man, and when I was looking at his dogs, pictures of them, I thought them dogs were 38, 42 something pound dogs, and them dogs was like 32, 34. They were like them Jocko dogs, Redboy dogs. They were big dogs for their weight. I said, dang. But he was a very intelligent man, and I think he knew how to do condition dogs and all. I think he did good. Yeah. But let me tell you this one other one. Some of them Redboy dogs, I say, DW can tell you about them. Some of them were full Redboys, some of them were crosses. Some of them Redboy dogs supposed to started showing up with a mouth on them and tough hides. Well, Bailey down there, he lived right down the road from Vernon. he got Redboy dog. He had Redboy dogs, Mr. Bailey, and he would breed Vernon's dogs, his stud dogs, and use them. And he got some good dogs off of that. And Vernon sent three. They were out of 3 different litters of his breeding to that boy. Joe, I didn't know his name. He's right up there on North Carolina, maybe Tennessee. Good Lord, I should have remembered. I should have wrote his name down. But he bought 3 sets of those puppies.
Man.
And one of them ended up being grand champion. Outback's grand champion junior. That was one of those dogs when he got grown. He was, and then Vernon asked Bailey later on. He said, well, "Whatever happened to them dogs?" What's that guy's name? He's native for he really liked the Redboy dogs. I wish I could think of his name right this minute. But him and Bailey were buddies. But Bailey said here's what Bailey told him. He said he probably changed their papers and put Redboy dogs on them or something like that.
Yeah, ain't no telling.
But some of them dogs started showing up. There was a guy, I think his last name was Jackson too. He was in Georgia. He had a dog with Jackson. I forgot what he called that dog. But them dogs looked at what was that? That guy's name popped in my head, popped back out. What was them dogs' names? But some of them dogs that fella had pictures of, they were real stout, real stout, big bones, and and all that. And I said, wow, that's
yeah,
made me kind of wonder. But anyhow, they did. I don't know what all happened to those dogs, what they did with them. EW said he saw one of them, and the guys were rolling into death. He was just a young puppy. They were rolling when he was a puppy. They would roll him and roll him and roll him, and I think he finally died or something happened to him. But well, you got to ask me some other questions. I don't reckon I want to keep rambling too much.
Oh yeah,
something that go ahead, just.
You
but I didn't know pretty well all those dogs.
You knew Mr. Burns pretty well?
I knew Mr. Burns real well. He was a fine fella.
What do you think would have been his number one dog?
I'd have to pull it up on that pedigree. I've seen the pictures of the dog. He got into the Jocko Redboy stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't. By then, I was out of the dog game and all that, so I didn't. Yeah. I never went back there to see him. But he, that's when he finally come up with started getting some good dogs. And I can't name the name of that dog, but I know Tan or somebody went on there because there's another fella down your way. There's another fella down your way that's got some of that bloodline from Mr. Tan, which he was a young boy. I can't think of his name right this minute, but he was a young boy when me and Vernon was around, going down there in Charleston and all that.
Yeah.
And but Mr. Burns, I think Tan or somebody went down there and put something on that dog and castrated him. Where the dog got castrated.
Yeah.
And that was one of his prize dogs.
Okay.
If they done that to him, maybe all that bad luck that happened later on down the road, and that be what goes around comes around. That could have been some of that.
Yeah. Right.
Because Mr. Burns never cheated nobody. He never spoke one way or the other. He was just a nice, real nice gentleman. And if he won, he won. If he lost, he lost. He didn't have nothing to say one way or the other.
Yeah. I ain't gonna hold you here all day or nothing like that. And I did have some questions, but some of the stuff that you were saying answered some of the questions that I had. So I ain't gonna ask you the same questions again. But I will ask you this. I'm gonna ask you this question to close off the interview. Can you remember the most exciting show you laid your eyes on?
The most what?
Can you remember the most exciting show you laid your eyes on?
Ooh. Well, for me personally, was when I put a little dog, matched a little dog, a female, into Powell. They had termite dogs. There was one guy said he was going to sell his game chickens and get into dogs. I told him, I said, you be wasting your time. It takes too many years for all this. And I said, what you see going on down here, going on right now, you probably ain't going to see that but very often.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a very exciting one for me personally, because I was personally in it. And then probably, oh Lord, I saw so many good dogs. I really did. Molly B was bad. That Rage dog, that Argo dog. I liked Argo better than I did Jocko.
So you seen any Argo shows?
Dog. No, I did not get to see him. McNeil did the work on them dogs.
Okay.
And it was his last name was McNeil, and that's where I got that car. So I got that Carver dog of mine. He was a Creole dog. He was pure brother sister breeding off of Carver's Creole.
Mm-hmm.
And when Scotty got that dog from Carver, he didn't call him up and say, "I want such and such. I want such and such." He said, "I just want a good, honest game stud dog. I want a stud dog." And he told him what he had and what dogs he was looking at, and that was the dog he sent him. And he turned out he won one or two shows with him, and beat a dog off of Zebo with him. I know that for sure. And then later on, this was a whole story of that stuff. I ended up with him, and then I started breeding him. And I ain't gonna call names because one of the person was a very good person.
Yes.
But I never done that. But there was some of them that got very, very mad when I got that face bitch. The Chandler guy gave me that face bitch, and she'd been offered to be sold on 2 or 3 occasions for $5,000.
Mm.
And he gave her to me. And there's a story behind that. But there's some of them held a grudge on that. And it was later they come on my yard and broke my Chuck dog's back. And then later they poisoned another litter of pups that I was, breeding up. I had a program going. I pretty well almost had it intact. I had a good strong line off that Bully Son Art Missy stuff, off of Holtz Jeremiah, and then the Lavassi Buster dog. One through a bitch that I got from Sunny Shropshire, and then the face bitch. Face was a half sister to that grand champion, Gardner's grand champion, Spike. Okay. She was a half sister to that dog, but she was off of Mayfield's Go Devil, and I think Spike was off that Snooty dog. But so they come on my yard while I was going out of town. I've been through a divorce and all. I don't know what all was behind it all, and they poisoned her. And so when all that happened, that just put me back about. I just pretty well undid, what I had done to try to get going.
Mm-hmm.
They just pretty well undone it. And I was at that age, at my age at that time, and the way things were going in the dog game, where it was headed with that, I just found I said, well, I got enough. I ain't doing it no more. I'm through. And so I got out of it. I got saved, got back in a good local church, and that's where I've been ever since. And so, like I say, I'll talk occasionally about it with different people, but not just anybody and everybody.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, you think of some other things, write it out. Like I say, I knew a lot of those dogs, and I hope a lot of them that hear this don't think trying to put everybody down. I'm not. Because I've had just as many ranked dogs as anybody's ever had. I didn't. The truth of the matter is, nobody have a monopoly, because these dogs will not breed. They will not breed true to type every time like game chickens will.
Yeah.
They just won't. And as they age, here's another thing. As they age, you might have a good producing stud dog. After a certain age, you need to quit. You need to go back to a younger dog. A lot of your game chicken men will not breed an old cock. They'll go to they may stay in the same bloodline, but they'll go to a good younger cock. They won't keep breeding them old chickens, because the sperm and the eggs get old, just like everything else.
Yeah.
And one other thing I tell you, that Mister, I had all the dog magazines from bloodlines I really knew your bloodlines good. I had them from 1930 probably all the way through the 40s, 50s, with those bloodline journals that they used to put out under UKC. Mm-hmm. And a lot of your old pit dog men like Hensel, Tudor, Sadler, all those fellas, they wrote articles in that magazine. And one of the things Mr. Heisel said about the old timers said to him was that the color black, solid black dogs was not a bulldog color. Mm. Well, what it is, it's a terrier color, and you didn't see a lot of black dogs, and where you started seeing more of them is when F.G. Henry, Earl Tudor liked F.G. Henry's dogs, and it was down through them into those Daibo line of dogs. Those dogs, a lot of them dogs were black. And see, they were terriers. The word black was a terrier color, and those dogs were coming directly from England. And most of them English dogs that Henry had, and some of the older timers, they generally usually become white with black tickings in the skin, mm-hmm. or they came black. And so those English dogs, that's a lot of predominant color for them, and they had a more of a bull terrier appearance to them too. Not like this old English bull terrier we're talking about today, but the old time bull terrier look. And of course the Kobe dogs and all, they came, white, and then you had some of those Lightner dogs, they were red nosed and so forth. But I just thought I'd throw that in there. So if you get some good solid real solid black dogs, I always believe this: if you get a good solid black one with those black eyes, like looking through a keyhole, mm-hmm. hold on to them, see what they're going to do. Color don't make them game. A white one with those tickings in the skin, particularly the females, they're generally be good producers. Them, and then a red smut. You get one of them reddish dogs with that black muzzle. A lot of times those are good dogs.
Yeah.
I like those red smut. And so, all right, I'll let you go. And if you think of some more stuff, write it all down. I'll try not to ramble so much. And
no.
Maybe
we appreciate it.
I knew pretty well all those dog men. I knew Mr. Tillwell, Mr. Egan Skinner. I knew. I never did really get to know James Crenshaw well. I knew him when I saw him. I spoke to him, but I didn't really get to know him. As far as these local dog men, I knew Mr. Truitt, grew up around him, Mr. Gainey. There was some others around here. But I knew all them. I knew Katie. But I hope I got the Redboy story straight. Like I say, if you want to read it more, see the siblings of Redboy, you can see them on that site, or you can pull it up, do a search, and find it. And as it goes, we'll never really know who the sire was to Redboy.
No.
I feel like it was the Stidham dogs that black man had in North Carolina. Yeah. He had good dogs, and they used his dogs, but he never gave him no credit about it.
Yeah.
And before I learned all this from EWO, that man has done long died. He done passed on.
Yeah.
But you know,
we'll
you
never
got
know.
some good Redboy stuff, and just bred into some good crosses and whatnot. And, you know, here's what I always believe: whatever anybody says about this or that, if it's your dogs and you happy with them and you feed them, your dogs, you happy with them and you feed them, it ain't nobody else's business.
You're right
That's
about
the way
that.
I looked at it.
You're right about
I don't
that.
mean I had fellas want to. They'd come to me and show me they got this dog bred a certain way, and I messed up one time and told the boy the truth. He got mad at me. And I found out after that, that's nice. That's a nice looking dog. You know, they bring a guy and say, this is a Kobe dog. And I'm looking at him, dang, he's a black dog and he's a Kobe dog. I said, well, all right. He never bought that little Kobe book and looked at all the pictures of them Kobe dogs. So there's certain traits and certain bloodlines. If you got a real tight bloodline, there's certain traits, some dogs are going to look a certain way.
Yeah.
And there's always exceptions to all rules, regardless. But anyhow, all I know is things are getting tougher. This is going to be a really bad year this year. I don't know how it's all going to pan out. And just today on the news, and I say a lot of these dogs are not pit bull terriers. They're probably something else, mixed dogs or whatever. Very bad. People think they'll get those dogs and they'll say, well, those mean old dog men, they're the ones that make them fight. They make them fight.
Yeah.
See, that kind of thinking. I'm going to love the dog and treat it right. Then the dog gets about 2 years old and they in the house with another dog and the other dog has been browbeating him when he's a puppy. When that dog comes into their full maturity and that dog challenges him again, then all of a sudden Jekyll Hyde environment takes place, and they don't know how to deal with that because they don't know nothing about brake sticks or nothing like that.
Yep.
And so, that's a lot of that stuff is biting people, or a lot of it's am staffs. First of all, I don't know what size them dogs have ate pit bulls and mauled a 14-month-old boy. I don't know if they was puppies. You know, I don't know what they were, but I would think they were full-grown dogs. They'd have took him apart. And so I don't know. You just don't know the whole story and the whole scenario. They just like to put that headline up there. But y'all fellas better be careful because I saw something on YouTube. Something happened on a dog show, some dog shows. They were showing dogs. You know, keep dog showing you dogs, but that's showing down there. Something down Alabama, somewhere down that way. There's something happened down there, and the fellas ain't really dedicated. They'll start telling on everybody.
Yep.
Keep your group close. Don't. I tell them, if, you know, even in good dog shows, just do one. Don't go do bunches of them. Go do one, and go home, and take the dog. And have you another good partner with you. Take the dog and let him keep that dog by itself on his place, you know, until you get ready to show the dog again. And don't take it back to your place.
Yeah.
And also, the last one, I say, you better, all your property and stuff, you better put it in your children's names.
Hey, you better do something.
You better do that too. If something goes south on you. But them lawyers, all them lawyers are looking for is what they can get.
Yep. You're right about that.
That's all. Yep. All right, my friend. I appreciate you. I hope my interview wasn't real boring.
Oh no. Great interview, man. I appreciate you. Sorry about that.
Will I be able to see it on YouTube?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It'll be up there probably tonight. I'll probably have it tonight later on this evening.
Okay, so if any of them start asking questions, you know, maybe a little later, I'll write the questions down, and maybe a little later if you want to do, we ain't got to do as long one as we did today, but, you know, a little later on, I might, you know, answer some more of those questions.
Yeah.
But I've seen a bunch of it, and I've seen a lot of, I tell you what I did see. I saw more good dogs, very good dogs lose due to poor conditioning than I ever saw any win.
Yeah.
Man, you can't put them up right. You don't know how to do it. And you ain't going to learn how to do it until you get some sound solid. And listen, Crenshaw, his keep, he ain't lying. Everything he's saying, he's telling the absolute truth. A lot of people will read that and say, oh, he's making that up. I've heard Mr. Till give people some advice, and they thought he was crazy. And I said, he wasn't lying to you. He was telling you the straight. It ain't nothing but hard work. I mean, you got to know how to feed right, but most of it ain't nothing but pure hard work.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't nothing. There ain't no easy way about doing it. It's hard, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of your time. And if a person ain't willing to take the time and put in the hard work, they're never going to bring you. And also, the only other way they're going to learn is pre-keeping. Pre-keeping and learning those methods and pre-keeping when they're going to look at the dogs, if they're good enough to enter in a dog show. Yeah. If they do short 6-week pre-keeps, they do enough of them, they'll learn a lot there and get better. And that's the only other thing that one of the things I would advise anybody. I'll put a lot of that on that site. So, well, all right, I'm gonna quit. I know you just thought about it. Follow.
Oh no, man.
All right. Well, you have a nice day, and better be very, very, very careful. Weight advantage of any sort to do anything with that big rascal. And in July too, dog days, good Lord. So he was a very good dog, man, getting around that. Now, one thing I want to clear up, I know a lot of these fellas, some of these fellas got dogs bred off of G. Yeah. I ain't trying to bash you. What I was saying about G was I didn't like his style. I like the rascal dogs much better. I like real powerful built dogs with a lot of that are fast action dogs. Mm-hmm. You know, move fast and all that. So, but I had a friend that his last name was Hill, Marty Hill. He had a dog called Johnny, and this dog was bred down. One or two of I think the dogs that he was bred out of, he was a brother-sister bred dog. He was a double-bred Jeep Rage dog. He was a nice-looking, Carver-type looking dog, and he was a good acting dog and all of that. There wasn't nothing wrong. I liked him. And some of that, I think he was kin to maybe them Dunlavy dogs. Maybe Garcia might have used some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, that's what this dog was. And Marty was a master. He was a master electrician. He did big contracting work. He run a contract. He run a crew of electricians. He was elected master electrician type work, and so he'd go out. He'd be out of town sometimes a week or so at a time on different jobs. But I had two of them little black females off of Jackson's Toonie dog and my face bitch, and I had that big barn and I had built. Getting it set up when I was build that round table in and everything, and so I needed lights out there, and the barn was about 30 feet away from my house, and so I asked Marty. I said, Marty, I'll give you these two little females. I'll give you these two little females if you'll come wire up my barn, put flash lights and all that, and plug-in plugs, power plugs. And he came, he did that, and even to this day it still works. That's how good a worker, craftsman he was. And them dogs turnout were looking extremely good. And he took them up to he was planning on breeding them back to his Johnny dog. And he took them up to about 16 months of age, maybe it's somewhere around that age group, maybe 18. He took them up there at the Fat Bill's. Fat Bill had a little personal private show, and when that got over, he went and got a couple of his dogs to, bump them with, show them, and they just went through them dogs like a hot knife through butter. Extremely fast, good, strong mouths, and putting everything where it's supposed to be put, and so he was real excited about that. And of course, VJ was there, and I feel some other dog men. But anyhow, he took them back, and about a week or so later, somebody came on his yard and stole those two female dogs.
Mm.
And he got so discouraged from all of it that he got out. He just quit. He quit the dogs. He got rid of his, I don't know what all he did with his dogs. He got rid of the rest of his dogs, and he went to race car driving on a dirt track. He switched from dogs to dirt track racing, and that was the end of that. And so I don't know what happened to them two little females. They went to somebody, and they did whatever it did with them. I reckon if they were any good and panned out, and they bred them, then I reckon they were, they probably got papered some other kind of way.
Yeah.
But that's what happened on that deal. But as far as the Jeep dogs, I saw these good dogs. They were very good dogs bred out of the Jeep and the Jeep Redboy stuff, and those people that have them and they like them, hey, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't want to say nothing bad against Bob Finley. Bob Finley was a heck of a dog man, and he was a very good dog man. He was like Mr. Burns. He was like Mr. Burns. He was a gentleman, easy to get along with, just a fine fella all the way around. And James Crenshaw was too. James Crenshaw was a nice fella.
Yeah.
But I just like his rascal stuff. I like them rascal dogs. I like them better.
A lot of people favor that rascal stuff. I never really dealt with too much of that rascal stuff, but I hear a lot of people talking good about it.
Yeah. Well, see, that Gunner stuff, that was some Mayfield stuff there, Giroux and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that he played around with, and the Brahman Snake Dog, some of all that stuff. I didn't see. I mean, some of that would turn out okay, but personally for me, I didn't care for that. I liked the way them rascal dogs, the way they looked, the way they were put together, the way they were built. I liked a real Tudor looking kind of dog, a bull terrier type looking dog, long and good, plenty of bone in them. And when that Hawaiian, that Bailey fella, he bred dogs to Vernon's dogs. He had Redboy dogs. Bob Holland and him. He had Redboy dogs, and they made breeds back and forth with Vernon's dogs, and they got good dogs. Mm. Everybody don't tell you everything they did with all their dogs. A lot of people kept to themselves.
Yeah.
There was a fellow that his name was Russell, and he had some Redboy stuff that he bred off of that Prince dog of Mr. Truitt's. And he got good dogs, and he showed them, and he won with them. And these pictures of them over there on the online pedigree, and they gorgeous dogs. And but the pedigree on the onlines on that Prince dog, actually, it was. I mean, Cecil used him, bred him a bunch. And also, Mr. Truitt got him. He had built him a good yard off of that. So I gave him a bitch called Black Beauty. Mm-hmm. It's Truitt's Black Beauty or Truitt's Beauty. She was a black dog. She was off of my face bitch, and a little dog that was a good bred little dog up the road from them Zetterquist boys. He had a little dog called Critter, and it was a good breeding on them dogs. And I let him. I traded her. I had some more of them dogs, but I traded that dog for that female dog for. He had a little boomerang bred bitch, and off that Mr. Ugly dog he had was a John Lloyd boomerang bred dog, and a little bit of my other stuff off my yard in her. Her name was Missy, and so I borrowed Missy to breed to my Winchester dog and see what I would get. And he took Beauty and raised her up, and he won one show with her against Powell, and then later when he bred Prince to Beauty, he got that Dolly dog. She was called Gardner's Dolly now. When Dolly was show age, Powell come down and challenged Dolly, and he lost again to her. And then after that, that's when the Jackson come down from Texas. He come down and traded a nice Kubota tractor and a trailer and everything for Dolly. and took her back down to Texas. He won with her there, and then Gardner come and got her. He got her and bought her, and he won with her. And then I heard later. I heard later that she'd gotten stolen off his yard, and I don't know if he ever recovered her. But I think that's about when he started building all them pens.
Yeah.
Building them real pens that people can't go in there and steal his dogs, and he put a big fence and all around everything. And so I don't know what will happen there. I do know a man that was living down this way. He had a granddaughter off of Golly, and she was a good looking thing. I said, man, that's a good looking dog you got there. But I don't know what all happened to them dogs. But that Prince dog was a producer. And the thing is, you want to know exactly how he was bred, and this comes straight from the horse's mouth, because I called Cecil and sit down, because I called him. I said I wanted to go over that pedigree with him, and I said we talked, and because you have to remember, he had that Bose dog. That Hampton's Bose dog was a full brother. He was a full brother to that Johnson Rage dog. And so that here's the neat thing. He'd call me some time back. We're talking about a good while, because all this is stuff that happened a good ways back.
Yes.
He said, when I talked to him, this was back in 2000. I documented everything on the Pitbull database. I talked to him on 04, 06, 2015, and we had a personal conversation about the breeding on the dog. And he told me that the Prince dog, Truett's Prince, was off of June's Bose. The June boys, Al fella had him, and the Parker boys, they had like a combined group there. And they called him June's Bose at that time. Frank Jacobs later had him, and then Joey Bunch had him after that. And Joey Bunch is the one that shot him because he hurt his little girl. But that Bose dog was off of Buster and Morgan's Whitey, the same way off of LaPosse's Buster, and the same breed as the Rage bitch was. And then here's where it gets the correct breeding. So he had called me a good while back, and he told me, Johnny, he said he bred that Bose dog to my face bitch. So they bred the face bitch. I was one of the last one to own her. Chandler and Cecil and them, they bred dogs off of her. And I understand it might have been some Palin might have got a bred to her. I never could talk with them Sheffield boys and to know for sure. But anyhow, I'm trying to get this thing moving on. That dog off of Bose and my face dog was Middleton's White Gal. He called me about that. That was years ago, years and years. He said, Johnny, I'm getting white dogs. I said, you are? He said, yeah. He said, off that Bose dog and that face, they're white. I said, are they white and they got little black tickings in their skin? He said, yeah. I said, well, that's a good thing. There ain't nothing wrong with that. I said, don't do nothing with them. And they turn out being good dogs. And one of the starting out was Middleton's White Gal. And off of Bose and face. And he bred White Gal back to a Rebel Kennel's Sundance dog. So that once again you got to remember, face was off of Middleton's Black Betty. She was out of Holt's Jeremiah 2 times, and Jeremiah was a full brother to Buster. And so Sundance was off of Buster, and that Morgan Sandy, she was Midnight Cowboy and Davis Piggy. So they bred Sundance to White Gal. And then get this, you got another one. Her name was Middleton's White Baby. She got white too.
Dang.
You got another one.
Dang.
And he took White Baby and bred her back to Bose again. And that's how that Prince dog was bred. He is bred out the Gazoo. He is an extremely well-bred dog. And of course, they got 17 offspring listed off of him. But Mr. Truitt had a yard of dogs bred off of that Prince dog. He was getting into some really good dogs. And he still had some of his old Redboy stuff, some of the last of it. And he was getting into some really, really good stuff. And that's when that Humane Society people just walked on his yard. No, everything they did was illegal, but they made their mind up when they got the dogs to kill the dogs, and they killed Prince and all of them, killed them all. Set him here, put him about like me, put him out in the dog business.
Yeah,
and but he sued them. He sued the Humane Society and won a big lawsuit. I mean, a big lawsuit. But it's still, for all the money he got, he'd have probably rather still had his dogs. He was just that type of fella. He liked his dogs. And he had some good ones there at the last, especially off that Prince dog. Middleton tried to buy Prince back. He went back and talked with Mr. Truitt and offered him twice the money back what Mr. Truitt paid for the dog. And Mr. Truitt said, "No, I don't want to sell him. I'm going to keep him." And so, but that's how that dog's bred. That's the correct breeding on him, and that's coming straight out of the mouth of the man that bred the dogs.
Yeah.
And so anybody wants to know the truth of it, sometimes you got to call the people, run them down, and talk to them personally.
Mm-hmm. No.
But
can you hear echo? Can you hear echo with me when I speak?
Echo? No, I don't hear an echo.
Okay.
So that was Marty, and I want to straighten the stuff out on the Jeep dogs. I wasn't trying to put the dogs down and whatnot. And Mr. Truitt, my dog partner, and Mr. Gaines was at that Homer Jeep show. But you understand, Mr. James was top of the line dog conditioner.
Mm.
You don't just go matching into him with just any dog or whatever. You had all your T's and I's and all. You had to have everything crossed and dotted. You had to really be on your game. You just weren't going to just steamroll over him.
Yeah.
And he could get a dog, and he just could get a lot out of a dog. He get out of a dog other people couldn't do it. My dog partner was the same way. He could get a dog to do more, particularly females. He had a knack for females. He could just really, really good with the female dogs. But I just want to tell anybody out there that's listening, you got good dogs, and you got Jeep in them, but you also got to consider Honey Bunch too now. And there ain't nothing. I'm not knocking any of that, because like I said before, if you got dogs that are good dogs, they're good dogs. I mean, you can't control everything that happened in the past. And you had good dog men like Mr. Hensel. You had lots of good dog men that whatever they said they were bred, they were. I tell anybody when you see my name, as far as the first two dogs, I can't say what happened 10 years back and all that, but I can tell you the first two dogs on my listing, that's what they were. I never tried to. I didn't see no reason to fake papers and things like that. I didn't see no advantage to nobody. I looked like it hurt the dog game myself.
Yeah.
But those things went on. But the bottom line is this: the first four generations is what you kind of have to look at. And then if you got good dogs, and you like them, they make you happy. Just like your dogs, you like your dogs, you happy with them. You're the one that pays the feed bill and the vet bill and all that. And that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm. You're right about that. Hey, let me catch everybody up. Before I ask you another question, let me catch everybody up to what we were speaking on. We was talking about Redboy, Willie, and Hank, three of the most popular dogs in the Carolinas during that back in the days time, and some of the dogs that they produced and things like that. And because a lot of brothers probably didn't come in at the beginning of the interview, and so they didn't catch on. So I was just catching them up to what we were speaking about. But
right.
I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the black and brindle Redboy dogs, where's that coming from?
It's probably coming from Cleo. She was a black dog. Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I had it wrote down. There was a dog man. There was one fella that was making comments See, a lot of people don't know, and I want to let them know that on the Pitbull Bible database, I'm CYJ. And if you see me posting on any of these sites here, like yours and some of the others, Mr. Garcia and so on, I use, I had it wrote down on the paper here. I use on my YouTube, I use King something. It plays to a trumpet. I had it wrote down, and I done shift papers around, and now I don't see it. But let me see if it's over here. I'm 1976 King Golden Flare. That's a very, very highly sought after trumpet. I had one of them. I played trumpet and cornet and flugelhorn, and I still play a little bit today. Now, we did up to that COVID messed everything up. I have a saxophone player, and alto saxophone player. He played the lead. I just can play harmony. And we don't play no real complicated music because I can't think that fast no more, and I can't do any of that. I just play what do you call a third or fourth trumpet, the harmony, and we just play basic church hymnals. And you know, a professional, semi-professional player, that'd be easy stuff to them.
I hear you on that.
But anyhow, that's who I am. So if you see me, because one of the guys posted on there, what was the question he asked? I asked him. I said he seemed dog man. There was a dog man that lived so many miles down the road from Mr. Bass, and he had dogs directly off. And he might have had that cat bitch, but he had dogs directly off of Redboy and Cleo. He had about 20 of them dogs out there, and so them talking about color. Some of them were red brindle, red nose, or red noses, and some of them were black dogs. Some were brindle dogs. They had different colors, but they're all out the same breeding. And that fancy bitch that Raul had, she must have come off of his yard because he's the one that had her. And she was a little red nose, red brindle female, and so. And it's possible that the cat bitch may have been off of that yard too. But I don't know. I forgot the man's name. He was in Dillon, South Carolina too, and he was right some ways down the road from Bass, but not a great distance. Yeah. And they might have been dog partners or something. I just don't know all the details. But and so I'm sure Katie and a lot of them might have got dogs from him. But eventually, I think he sold his dogs off, and some of maybe the hunt fella and some of them guys, different people might have got dogs from him as well. Mm-hmm. And see, another is the connection with Mr. Mims and R.E. Bass. The connection between them is, and Mr. Mims could he got along with Bass because what they had in common was boxing. Mr. Carl Mills was a Golden Gloves boxer when he was a young man. Yes. And Bass's son was a Golden Glove boxer. And also, if they don't know it, those Gainey boys, Mr. Gainey's, they were Golden Glove boxers too. And so but Mr. Mims usually could get, he could get the straight of things with Mr. Bass. Yeah. And I think he got a lot of dogs. Some of his dogs might have came directly off of. I don't know if he got dogs. He might have got some dogs from Katie. I don't know where he got all of his dogs. A lot of his Redboy stuff that he had a lot of the older version of it. Yeah. And then if you talk with EWO, he'll tell you there's about 3 versions of those dogs.
Of Redboy dogs? And,
and they're crosses. Yeah. And so some showed a little better than others. Mm-hmm. And but regardless, in their pure form of breeding, they needed that hybrid cross. If you put like a rascal dog or even the Jeep dog, clicked good with them, and some others, a Chinaman. And that Chinaman stuff, them boys that call themselves the PD Kennels, they had some of that Chinaman Redboy crosses, and they did good with those dogs. And like I say, and one guy made a mention of a fella had another female off of that Redboy Cleo breeding. Redboy was a Redboy's sister. They may have been another one. The only one that I knew of was the one that Lewis Miles had. He had one female, and she was a black. I think she was a black dog, and she just wouldn't fight. She wouldn't do nothing. She was a cold dog, and he just shot her. Back then, a lot of times they'd shoot a cold dog. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't shoot a cold dog if they're well bred.
Yeah,
especially a female. Sometimes the other sisters of that dog can be high strung and won't raise a darn dog. Whereas that cold dog, she'll raise them puppies and take excellent care of them. And like I say, you got to give it one try. They made breedings off of a cold bitch at Tombstone, and Randy Fox is telling that whole story on his site. There was a lot of good dogs come off of that female. And another thing about Redboy, it jumped in my mind, and talking about that Fang dog, they was to the Cordova breeding in that dog too. And I don't know if it was in Redboy, but there was the Cordova breeding in that dog.
Oh, wow.
And that might explain some of the size. There was a lot of Mr. D. Cordova's dogs. Bill, I think his name was Bill, but it was D. Cordova. I might not be pronouncing his name right. But the dogs that he had, Randy Fox knew him well. His dogs were big dogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Let me take me something here to open my sinuses back up. I want to go a little bit into any more questions on Redboy stuff? I mean,
well, I was going to ask you, did you consider Redboy one of the best producers that ever lived?
Well, yeah, he's right up there in the rest of them. If he wasn't no good, there wouldn't be so many of them.
Yeah, you're right about that.
I mean, there's a lot of people happy with him.
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. If there's a lot of it out there and they happy with it, I don't know what the Hank dog could have done. He didn't get bred but 2 times, and I don't know what else they might have could have did another repeat breeding on on that Queenie bitch and got some more of them dogs. It's just hard to say. But yeah, the thing is, he stood the test of time.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that's how you have to look at it. Whatever stood the test of time up to today, they had to be something going for them for to go on like it went.
Mm-hmm. Right about that.
Let me tell you, any other questions about Redboy? And like I say, they did come in different colors. They didn't all come red nose, red brundle or red or whatever. And I explained all that over there in one of the articles on Pitbull Database. And like I said, that first litter of them dogs, I saw most of them.
Yeah.
And I had one of them on my yard for a while. The bouncer dog, he was a Tiger Brundle. And he was a good acting dog and everything. I didn't have nothing, didn't like him. A Navy SEAL ended up with him.
Mm.
That's he was the last owner of that bouncer dog.
I heard about the bouncer dog.
The Ford guy had a big one. He had a big red. He was a big red black muzzle dog. And he was a rough customer. And then, like I say, but anyhow, they didn't all come red nose. You got red brundles. I tell you look at some of them dogs. They even come brundle with white on them. I think one of them dogs, a Katie's, that was one like Mr. Bulldog. I think he might have been a buckskin or something, but I don't remember for sure.
Yeah.
But there was another one. I forgot his name. He's got a picture of him. He's a brundle with white on him, brundle and white. That was one of her better stud dogs. He was a good size looking dog, and they had more of a look like the old friend of mine type dogs. They had really, one of the things they did had noted for is, what I noted about them was they did them that, you know, they were, they had a lot of, they had good air, they had good breathing air on them.
Okay.
You got to have good dogs that can breathe. If they can't breathe, you might well go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many factors go. It's just like an athlete, in boxing or any kind of athlete. He's got to have certain attributes that he's got to be born with. If they don't have it, it's like a weak link in the chain. If they don't have good bone structure, good tensile strength, good lungs, all those factors play into everything. Because if they can't breathe, they can't do nothing. Short-winded dog can't breathe. That's why you miss a lot of them old stocky dogs, little stocky, barrel-chested kind of dogs.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess with them kind of dogs. You want lean dogs, long, lean, a good amount of chest capacity going down up under there. It ain't wide. It's the lengthways down.
Yeah.
And so those kinds of dogs they're more athletic than a barrel, what I call a barrel chested type of dog. And also another thing you got to watch is on them back legs. If that dog's legs are real straight when they stand all the time and they real straight up and down, almost like you could put a ruler on the back of it, and it's real straight. A lot of those type dogs will be weak. They'll be weak in the back end. They don't have that natural bounce, like coil springs in the back of their legs. They can't bounce.
It's a name for it. What's the name for it they call it? I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know.
I know now. Cowhawk is one of them.
That's it.
Where the legs and all would turn out.
That's the name.
And fiddle front.
Yep. And fiddle front.
Yeah, but usually the ones, and sometimes they show up in a lot of Dabo dogs. It's a real straight leg. I mean, he's standing normal. They move normal. When they stand, the leg don't have enough bend in it.
Look like they tippy-toeing.
That type dog, that dog can't take the pushing. You push him. He can't bounce. He can't give and bounce, and it won't be long for the dude to be over with.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So you have to factor all of that. That's what was so unique about the Redboy, the Jocko Redboy crosses. Some said some of the dog men says a lot of them were too slow. But the thing about it is, as I said before, they were big dogs. You could take a 45-pound dog, put up against just a local 45-pound dog, and he'd be longer and be taller and bigger bones, but still weigh the same. And that's a big advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big advantage.
Yep.
Anything else about the Redboy?
No, sir.
Okay. I want to talk a little about Baker Davis.
Okay.
It was Baker Davis, and then what? Long after that, James. They started rolling in there with those Carver type dogs, and a lot of them local North Carolina dog men. They weren't holding up too good to them. They was just a different kind of animal, powerful dogs with a lot of hard mouth and whatnot. And what I don't know is that there was a veterinarian many years ago. He messed with the dogs too. I've seen him a couple of times at some shows, and he did a little dabbling in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And from doing all that, he gained a lot of knowledge on how to treat dogs how to do with them in the keep, and also in the recovery.
Yeah.
And so Baker and them combined fellas and Mr. McDougal and them, over time, he shared all that information with them, because he got out, he quit with it, and he shared that information with them and what they used. And see, Vernon got that information too. And if you knew how to do it, you still have to have your dog in shape. Now, don't misunderstand me. You can't take other stuff and make win with a dog. You have to have your dog in good shape. They had a group of medications, and three of them had a V on the bottle. You'd see a V. And what these medications were designed for was to take a dilapidated dog that maybe was seriously, blood count was really, really low, close to dying from parasites, or a dog that had been hit by a car or something, was in a lot of trauma, and they had to get the dog stabilized to be able to, do whatever they had to do to the dog. They had to do to the dog. And the first three were, one of them was Winstrol V. That was the steroid. And then they had some type of a B complex, a really specialized souped up type of a B complex. It had a V on it too. I used to know the names of it, but I don't know no more.
Yeah.
And then he had an iron complex. It was entirely different from just regular iron shots. Entirely a different animal. And it had the V on it. And then the other thing that they used, and my vet discontinued it because they had to put dogs up in small kennels.
Yeah.
And this stuff, one of the things this stuff did was it was far superior to any of the other type, like Dex and all that. It would make the dog drink a lot of water, so he did a lot of urinating, which is a good thing if you got a sick dog. You're working them kidneys, or the dogs keep the dog going in shock, get the kidneys working and all that. Yeah. It was a wonderful thing. But they would urinate a lot, and so they would have to change the paper and all in the dog kennels a lot. So my vet found me dry. He said it was wonderful, and he said I'll use it occasionally. He said, but it caused so much problem with having to keep the kennels clean.
Mm.
And urinate so much.
Yeah.
But it was called, I think it had 2X on it, but it was called Pre-Death 2X. Pre-Death 2X. If you ever pull it up on internet, you'll see how superior. I mean, this stuff was something else. And then Dex, and you had your Dex. And so the way it was used on the Winstall, and then some would do on male dogs, they'd do the testosterone, and then there was another called Anavar. But I think the Winstall didn't have any masculizing effects on a female. And so if you read some of them keeps them guys put out on them steroids, I looking at them, I said, my Lord, you guys are giving them dogs enough steroids for a dang on bodybuilder. I said, good gracious, no wonder the dogs screwing them dogs up so bad. But you only give a quarter of that Winstrol, you only give 1/4 of a cc using a diabetic needle with a long needle on it. It was 1/4 of a cc on one rest day out of in the conditioning keep where one primary rest day came up. That's when the Winstrol and the B complex iron it was given. Now the Pre-Death was not given, or the Dex. It was just the Winstrol, B complex, and iron. And of course, the steroid was given at 1/4 of a cc. That was it. All it was trying to help keep the dog in an anabolic state, keep him feeling good, if he might have been getting a little tired, need a little more faster recovery. It would help all that. Kept them on count, and also it did a lot with their blood count. Really helped that blood count build. Them dogs, you put a lips up, they looked like they were going to bleed blood out their gums. They were so red, and so that helped all that. Now, after the 30-hour feeding, and so anyhow, let's get back to Mr. Davis.
Yeah.
That's what they all knew. And then my dog partner, when he was living in Florida, and so he spent a lot of time around all them fellas. They were all good friends. He would go up to the university in Georgia, and he told me, you would not believe them professors, that dealt with dog food, anything to do with dogs, animal science. He said, I'd set up an appointment. He said, Johnny, whoever I was talking with, they'd sit there and talk to me for 2 or 3 hours. He said, they that's what they loved. He said, I'd write down all the kinds of questions I wanted to ask them about the feeding and one thing and another. He said they just tell him everything they knew. And some of the things we learned is on that last time appointing the dog, if your dog was light at 12 hours, your dog was weighing light, because you take the water away at 24 hours, and then you start. And at 12 hours, you start your weighing process. If that dog was weighing light, you could add X amount of ounces of whatever kind of fluid you were going to use to try to keep the dog on weight and keep him hydrated. Yeah. A lot of people say, no, we're going to dry them out. We're going to dry them out. No, that's the wrong thing to do. And so, in other words, a dog could pass in 12 hours. Any fluids you give a dog, we're talking about liquid fluids. A dog kidneys, we're talking about what's not absorbed into the body. The dog will pass that water in 12 hours. And even Crenshaw said, I reckon it was something kind of a little more desperate on the weigh-in, and there's maybe a lot of money laying on that weigh-in. He said he in his book, he said you could go up to 3 hours. But my vet said you could do it 12 hours and up to 6 hours. He said in 6 hours, the dog would clear that fluid. So you at least could do 12 and 6. And if the things were desperate, you could shoot for the 3.
Yeah.
And so that was some of the stuff that they learned and did. And, when it comes to that pre-def X stuff, that was the 12-hour mark. And I don't know the exact dosage now, but I would safely say a CC. A CC of the pre-def went into the skin, underneath the skin, at 12 hours. And then at 6 hours, 1 CC of Dex at 6 hours. That was it. That was it on that. All went under the skin. And what it's done is the Dex would be working up front for the first so much time. It would be working up front, but that pre-def X took longer to work into the system. And so what a lot of them dog men couldn't figure out, they would see like some of the dogs and all, they'd be going at top speed. At first they get just a little bit hot, they'd hassle just a little bit of water. And then about 5 minutes, you'd see the dog take it like a bellow. You take a big, deep breath, and then from then on, that dog could go full speed, and he'd breathe like a bellow, just deep, slow, deep breathing. Mm-hmm. And then the other great, wonderful thing about it was, and it really got proven on that time with me and Mr. Powell. So he had a head specialist, nose specialist, no swelling, absolutely no swelling, no bleeding, no blood, no swelling.
Yeah,
it was incredible. People looking at that deal saying, "My Lord, that dog's head ought to be big as a 5-gallon drum, big as a 5-gallon bucket or something, swole, and all that." But Powell, he knew too. He knew. In fact, he might have did some of the same stuff, because him and Vernon, they spent a lot of time together. They were both Marines and all that. And so, but anyhow, that was the basic secret of the Sebbies and all, and them fellas used. And a lot of that they got from that veterinarian down there in Florida.
Oh wow!
And last thing, a lot of people. But here's the thing. All that's probably very, very difficult to get today. And if you don't know how to use it right, you can really mess a dog up. And here's the other thing about it. You had to do a one-dog show. You can't go there and you go a third or fourth, you're going to mess up big time. Because that dog would come to a peak. Within that time period, that dog would come to a peak. And any hours after that, he's going downhill after that. And so and of course, I don't advise doing multi-dog shows today, you know. But anyhow, that was it. And Mr. Davis, he rolled in there. He was taking names, kicking butt, taking names, and then later Crenshaw come in there, and he was you know, he became a person that to be reckoned with as well. So in other words, the times had changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
The methods were different. A lot of them were using the cat bills and they just started doing. They just learned more about anaerobic training and aerobic training and anaerobic training. They learn a lot of different methods. The EWO fellow, what helped him a lot in the way he did his dogs was his son was a real good wrestler in high school and whatnot. They did wrestling, and a wrestler has to train anaerobic. He has to have a lot of anaerobic training because of the type of event it is, type of what you're doing, and that's why a lot of people don't think walking. Hand walking dogs is good, but it is. It should be a good part of your routine. And if a fellow that lives way out in the country, he's going to have a big advantage over somebody living in the city, where that person cannot get out there, maybe try to go to the park and not cause no problems, or try to get out in the country. But somebody way out in the country just got a lot of maybe open farmland and stuff like that. They're going to have a bigger advantage. And I was like Mr. James. I believe in the hand walking. I think if you do the proper hand walking, including what else, what some other mill work you might do, what it does to me, in my thinking, is that when you get down to these short rows, that dog, they get a little break there, or they get down, they slow down a lot, or the dog gets down on the bottom, he can get back up. It helps him get back up. That's the way I saw it. And so, but I was a strong believer. I used a 30-foot rope, and I would tie every foot. I'd put a knot in that rope, because if that dog saw something, he was out there in front of him. He saw something. He decided he wanted to go. You have a glove or something on, and that rope could seriously burn your hand. You might let it go. And so I kept putting them knots in that rope in a loop as well. Mm-hmm. And that way I could reel him in and reel him back out, reel him in and reel him back out. It's those type of dogs, they out there walking and pulling like that, they get in shape. Yes, and it's a type of condition that don't overwork them. It don't overwork them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really complicated on the conditioning side of it. It's just hard work. That's all it is. You got to have everything. You got to have everything in place. If you're going to be, if you're going, also if you was doing the conditioning, that's all that I would do. I'd try to have a place way out somewhere and stay away from everybody. And that's all I do. I just have me just do the one dog at a time. And you got to have some different types of equipment in case you have the bad weather issues you do.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just depend on the cat mill by itself, unless you live in the desert. You live out in the desert area where it hardly ever rains.
Now, since you said that real quick before we keep going, the weather. Have you ever seen the weather change? The weather make somebody have to pay a forfeit?
Yeah, if they can't, well, if they don't have the right, they don't have like a round table or one of them newer, nicer meals, and maybe an area that they can hand walk the dog. If they got behind, say it rained for 2 weeks and they got behind, you're not going to make that up. You can't make that up. you're not giving your dog a fair chance.
Yep.
And that's what it was. You had a lot of them armchair dog conditioners. If they felt like going out and work, no, they did. If they didn't feel like it, they didn't, and they didn't do it on a consistent time. It has to be on a certain time. The main workout. Now, as far as the walking, you get up early in the morning and you walk them. You can walk them again in the middle of the day, however much walking you want to do, and then the main exercise at nighttime. Usually they do it at nighttime. But you got to be consistent, and the feed has to be fed at a certain time. It has to be consistent, and so that takes time. See, like with Mr. Crenshaw, he would take off from work, and he'd spend the whole time with the dog. He spent the whole time with the dog.
Mm.
He didn't go to work and come home and do whatever. He would take off, and if it was 2 months, he's going to be spending 2 months with that dog. That he spent the whole 2 months with the dog. He did everything with him. And if you ever look at his treadmill on the YouTube, where he's got the dog on the porch, it's raining out there, but he's got the dog on the porch doing that treadmill. But that ain't just any old kind of treadmill. I could be wrong now, but that mill he had was super extra wide. And only mills I ever saw like that was the ones they sold out of Germany. And they used them on them Schutz hound dogs, and they could run 2 German Shepherds on one of those mills. They could put 2 on at one time and run them. But the way that mill worked and all, is very high dollar, high class made type of a meal. If you notice on there, if you watching him, he mostly would let that dog mostly just walking it, just steady walk, steady walk, steady walk. Now, he might speed him up a little bit, let him go back to a walk. But you'd also notice that while he was doing that, it was raining. It was raining.
Yeah. And
so you have to have some other things to back you up on bad weather days. You can't just depend on one certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you build a real nice big proper type round table, you got a building to put it in. Yeah, if it's raining, you can't walk the dog. You can still do ample enough work, maybe two times in the day with that type of meal, and you'll be all right. And once the weather cleared up, you go right back to what you was doing. But and then I say I don't know nothing about those last type of treadmills they're making. They're like $3,000 to $4,000.
Yeah.
They may be all right. I don't know. I don't know. I never. Only the kind that we dealt with, the better ones was made off them Volkswagen hubs. But they were slat mills, and they were wide slat mills, and you had to be careful with them because they had a lot of drag on them.
Yeah.
And it looked to me like they didn't make them wide enough. And if your dog's foot run down the edge of it, it could blister their foot, or them slats could pinch their feet. You had to be careful with a lot of that.
Mm.
So those my dog partner, he didn't do much with them. He had a treadmill. He didn't use it much.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Now I do go.
So but now when that hand walking, you want to have a good quality pulling harness like you have on them sled dogs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You don't want him pulling off the egg and choking himself. You want him on a pulling harness, and that way it don't get tangled up in his legs and stuff. Because I tell you try to walk him on a harness, on a collar, or even one of them little pretty tight harnesses that people put on dogs. Mm-hmm. Them dogs can fold. A pit dog can fold his legs and slide right out of that sucker. It won't hold him, but you got to have like a sled dog type pulling harness.
Yeah,
and then the rope and everything, and also. That chain pulling, you got to know that within that hand walking scenario, you have to set up certain points, and you could a certain amount of weight of chain. You can throw that chain on there and let him drag it for so far, and he'd take it off and just go back to the hand walking. And some of that's done too. I know a fellow that did it like that. And he kept out of the limelight. He did it like that, And Buddy Roo, he turned one loose on you. He had the dog had wind, and he had power too. In other words, he probably, if he was going at a certain weight, the chain weight might have been, small dogs might have been 2 or 3 pounds above the show weight, or a big dog, he might be 5 pounds over. So he had that, the extra strength.
Yeah.
So forth. Let me see. I think I went over most of what I wanted. Some of this stuff. And that guy that had those Redboy Clio dogs. And we did the popular dogs.
I did wanted to ask you about this part, about the Medlin Outlaws dog. And do you think he possessed the same traits as the Redboy, and why him and Redboy is always in the same bag when people talk about him?
I don't know. I knew Mr. Medlin. He was a real nice fella. Always wore a bow tie. And I didn't know that much about his dogs. He had a little bit of Joe Bill's, a good breed in there off of Joe Bill's stuff. And I think he might have been one that had that dog that they call Rose. That was real popular up that way. But they did breed some of that Medlin stuff. Mr. Tills was the turkey farm dog. They called him. That's what they called him. He was raised up around a turkey farm. I think it was Jim Rayfield had him, and he was a real good dog. He was a champion. And the last time I saw him go, he won his show, but he had a rough time winning it. Normally he was just a really good dog. He was a gut dog. And later, and after it was all over with, Mr. Till called him outside, and he said, "Did you work that dog right?" He said, "That dog didn't put out like he did in the last two. Did you do him right?" And Jim told him no. He said, "I got on the drum." I got on the drum. And I didn't. I said, he said, "I know I barely squeezed by." He said, if he had went the dog's stomach, it might have went the other way. But he was a really good dog. And I liked him. He was he was shot off of Till's Jeff, and he looked like a Kobe dog. He was marked like him, and he looked like him.
We're talking about the outlaw dog.
And I don't know if it was outlaw. It was a dog called
Turkey, the turkey farm dog.
Yeah, turkey farm dog.
Yeah, okay.
And I tried to get up with him, but I never could get up with him. And they later bred something. I was off that Medlin stuff. They bred turkey farm to. They had a dog, grand champion dog called Bobo. I believe it was Bobo. That guy's last name was Coleman. 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 Let me see if I can pull him up here. It's Coleman, Coleman, and a male. But I got his pedigree over here. There's a bunch of Coleman dogs listed in here, but it's Coleman's turkey. Yeah, Coleman's turkey. Showed him a 2-time winner, but I believe he won 3. And so that stuff, I noted in there that he looked like a Kobe dog. So he come off of, he was off of Till's Jeff and a dog called Kel's Brownie. And then that was off of Medlin's Rib, Mr. Medlin. And that rib stuff come off of Winningham. I knew Winningham off of Winningham's Tanner, and then Medlin's Red Lady. And Red Lady was off of McCraw's Snowball and Bill's Red Lady. And then there was another bitch in there called Burleson's Lady. But they bred that. They was 3. I only showed 3 offspring. And one of them was Grand Champion Bobo. And he, let's see, there's a lot of Medlin blood in that dog. He had the Rayfield's Ginger and Kale's Bobo and Luther's Lady. All that was Kale dogs. And all them dogs had the Jeff dog bred in them and the Medlin dogs. But I think some of that meddling, and it might have been because of some of the old red-nosed blood that was back there, I believe, in them meddling dogs, maybe through Mr. Joe Bill's dogs. It seemed to click good with the Redboy stuff because some of the Redboy has the meddling in it.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. Medlin, if he got a good one, he would usually let Mr. Teal work it out. Him and Mr. Teal and Egan Skinner were real good friends, and so but Mr. Medlin himself, he wasn't a real, what you say, a dog man per se, is working them and things like that. He's more of just a breeder.
Yeah.
But usually if he brought a good one, and Mr. Teal, I got to blow my nose. And Mr. Teal, if he brought one to Mr. Teal, they generally were a good dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't know a whole lot about his dog yard. I just knew him, and he was a real nice fella. And one of the craziest things I ever saw, I never thought I'd see this. There was something over a woman between Mr. Egan Skinner and Joe. Years ago when they were young men, something over a woman. And they must have reconciled about it. And they were standing out there outside behind the Bowman restaurant. We'd had some kind of show or something. And they were standing out there. And I heard Mr. Skinner say, Joe, these are old men now. He said, Joe, he said, I thought I told you that you'd never bring that up again. And he must have brought it up. And Mr. Skinner knocked the living daylights out of it, and they started scrapping out there. Mr. T walked over there. He said, look at you crazy suckers. He said, y'all go over and pull them apart. They can't even hurt each other. He said, stop it before one of them falls down and breaks a leg or whatever. You didn't know Mr. Teal, when he was a young man, him and his brother were boxers. They were Golden Glove boxers too, Mr. Teal and his brother. His name was, he called him Jocko. They were both Golden Glove fighters. But the last one I saw like that was Mr. Truitt in Bass. It was down there at one of these shows in Charleston.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was about, but Bass sucker punched Wesley. And boy, that's when Bass clinched him. And they were going around there and Wesley trying to get himself loose to really start. What he did, Bass, even as a young man, Wesley wasn't nobody to fool around with. He was he was not a mean person or anything like that. He was really easygoing, but he wasn't afraid to get down. And he shield roofs. He was a roofer. And them roofers, they ain't somebody you just think you can go over there and just whoop them.
Yeah.
Any man that can throw two things of them asphalt tiles on the back of their back and walk up a long ladder about 3 stories, tote it up there and put it down on top up on that roof in that hot summertime and put that roofing on. Man, that's somebody you don't want to just necessarily play around with.
You're right about that.
And then bricklayers, them that lay bricks and concrete block, he ain't somebody you want to fool around with either. And also them carpenters, them lanky wiry carpenters, and them loggers. Anybody that did logging.
Yeah.
A lot of those type men are very, very strong, powerful men, just for the kind of work they do. you got to have a lot of grit to do that kind of work. I knew a guy that laid bricks and concrete and whatnot. He could grab a chinning bar. He could grab it up with just his index finger and his thumb. He could grab it and hold it and do chin ups. He'd pull himself up. He had big old muscles in his arms. He could do chin ups, pulling himself up. He didn't have to grab the whole bar with his hand. But he laid them concrete blocks every day, day after day. Okay, I don't want to get too far off subject, but yeah, that's that. Bass and Wesley had a scrap. Yeah, I saw that. They didn't last long, you know. But
yeah,
but they.
So
anyhow, let's get on to something else.
Yeah. So if I was looking for the best, if I was searching through a couple lines of dogs back then, would I find a better dog searching through the Eli or through the alligator dogs back then in them days?
If I would prefer, to me, the alligator dogs.
Yeah. And
also, the sad part was the Hoot and Butchered boy killed that Samson dog. Boy, any of that stuff back then, it came down through some of that, particularly that Tudor's red bill blood and all that was in them dogs, and all that. But as far as the Eli dogs, I would have preferred the plumber guys, them plumber guys, and Mr. Gilbert, and then I would have went with the alligator stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought they were, but them plumber boys, they I don't know them personally, but they were serious dog men, and they didn't mess around, and they didn't put down something that was just going to just hang around about 20 minutes, run off down the road. They didn't play that game.
I hear you on that.
Yeah. All them Texas guys had their hands on some good dogs back then. They really did.
Yeah.
Did you see
Did you see any of the banjo dogs?
The banjo?
Yeah.
Which banjo?
Well,
McCoy?
Yeah.
No, I didn't ever see him. I saw pedigrees on him and pictures of him, but I never saw him.
Yeah.
But around about 1999, as far I was inactive in the dogs way further than that.
Yeah.
I want to say again on here, if there's any of them petters and all that crowd out there, if they just happen to manage to be listening to, I got out. I quit dogs when it became a third-class felony and no longer a misdemeanor. I had to wrap that up. What I'm talking about on here and the other interviews, all historical stuff that happened many 35, 40, at the age I am now, probably 40 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, that was, considering how things have gone and how things have went, that particular time era, right in the mid 60s and the 70s, right in there, even probably in the 50s, working on through there, that was probably the best era of the dogs as far as people being able to have. See, back then, people didn't know what a pit bull was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They do today. They do today, boy. Yeah. Anything that hurts somebody is a pit bull.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to your interview, and I made some comments, but I tell you, my cousin, his wife was the head of her. They had these different dog clubs. She was the head. She was real big into English Bull Terriers,
mm-hmm.
and she was over all that. And then they did the show dog Bull Terrier stuff and all that. Well, she had one of them suckers, and when I had to go work on their phone, they had to put that dog up, and I was looking. I was heading out. I talked with her, and we talked, and I did fix the phone off. And I was getting ready to leave, and I was heading out. I looked at the door, and these deep scratches all down that door.
Mm.
And I looked at it, and I said, "What in the world did that?" She said, "That dog." She says, "When then children come down through here from school and all, he hits that door trying to get out."
Dang.
I thought to myself, you need to shoot that stinking cur. If he'd ever get out, he could seriously hurt one of them youngins.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. And so them English Bull Terriers and Rottweilers, I had to do with a guy had some Rottweilers had them tied on a doggone cow chains. I said, mister, and I worked around fixing the phones. I run into lots of types of people and whatnot. And I said, mister, I said, those are some really nice looking Rottweilers. They were aggressive acting too, because when I walked back there, boy, they got fired up when I had to go around behind the house to where the phone service was at. And I looked at what they had on them. I said, my Lord, that new dogs will be, that new chain, they're going to hold them dogs for just a little bit longer and they're going to be loose. And then what's going to happen then?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyhow, it just is what it is today. And I just hope that, I mean, I feel sorry for those. I really feel for those children, and there's another thing about a biting dog and a territorial dog, and them territorial type dogs that kind of run in them Eli dogs. And my face picture's like that, and I suspect that Boo's dog was too. But here's the thing about that type of dog: you need to build a fence around them, no matter what. If you went into that face picture's chain and she did not know who you were, she'd eat you up. And she wouldn't be playing with you.
Dang.
And I mean, she'd pull back from a strange person and give her some chain room, so that when they got in the right distance, that chain wasn't going to snatch her back.
Yeah.
But I could take her off that chain. I could have 10 strange men standing in my yard. I could take her off that chain and walk her up to them, and she wouldn't even pay them a bit of attention, unless one of them decided they're going to, make like they're going to hurt me or something, make a loud noise and try to make like they're going to hit me or something.
Yeah. That
would probably wouldn't have been a wise thing to do. But other than that, she would pay them absolutely no attention. But on that chain, there's a different story.
Yeah.
It's only who she knew could go to that chain and pet her or feed her or whatever. And so it didn't matter about the feed. But now the other kind of dog, you go to feed that sucker and he tries to bite you. He's trying to bite the hand that feeds him. Shoot that sucker real fast.
Mm-hmm.
I got one, Mr. Joe Bill, like that. I said, Joe, I ended up giving him one of my other dogs for a stud dog. His last stud dog he used off my chuck dog. I told him, I said, Joe, I had to shoot that dog. That dog was too dang on dangerous. I said, if you'd have brought him back home and put him back in, you don't never know when he was going to attack you in your house. But he'd bring him in the house sometimes. He was a big dog. I said, you never know when he was going to attack you. I said, that sucker almost took my hand off. Dang. And I was just trying to feed him. And I shotgunned him, sent him on to the happy hunting ground. But that's something you got to look at. But now, if you got an outright biting dog, that dog needs to be destroyed. And that's what happened to that Boo's dog. Jerry should have built Joey should have built his name was Bunch. He should have built he had paddling dogs too. He should have built a fence around that dog. And because that dog got one of his girls caught her by the hand and mauled her hand. I might have told all that. And he shot the Boo's dog. He shot him, and then he didn't shoot the rest of the dog. He shot him. That was the end of him.
Nice.
And then he sold the rest of the dogs and got rid of them. Mr. Gainey might have got some. Who knows? Here's a sad story about Mr. Gainey's dogs. When them fellas lost interest in them, his sons and all, I reckon they just finally lost interest in all of it. And he was up in age. And when he got into dog game, he wasn't no young fella, but he made a tremendous splash when he did. You had to have your act together if you were going into him, because he had some really good dogs, and I think he had better dogs than Tant did, and that JR dog and all that. But anyhow, he called Wesley over there. And he said, "I'm through with it," and he said, I've got a backhoe. I'm fixing to dig a big old hole. I want you to help me with the dogs. And he took them and shot every one of them and buried them.
Ah.
Yep. Actually, he could have sold them dogs probably $10,000 a piece. But he had it down to a science, and he had a cream of the crop. Last time I saw them, they were immaculate looking animals. They looked as good as them Mr. Hollins's them red-nosed dogs he had.
Yeah.
They were built like that, and they had that same beautiful build and immaculate health and all, and jumping off the subject, but anyhow, he got rid of them. He didn't let nobody have them, and so,
so that's why you don't got no Gainey's dogs floating around other than the
yeah,
junior
you don't
dog.
see none of them. He ended with yep, because he had cream of the crop of that stuff. Yeah, he could have helped. Aim Wesley tried to get him one or two of us. They begged him to give them to him because then they would have helped him with that. Because he still had a little bit of that Prince blood up north, and he might have could have used some, bring him back to some of Mr. Gainey's stuff. Got himself going again.
Mm-hmm.
And but he just would not. He said no. He said I don't want nobody else to have them. And I wasn't necessarily in a selfish manner. He said I just want nobody else to have them because they might abuse them.
Yeah.
And that's what he did.
Dang. So I got one last question. Did you see any of Yellow shows or any of Yellow offspring shows?
I saw Yellow on one show. He was a slow dog. He was not a fast dog.
Yeah.
He was slow. He was big dogs. A lot of them dogs are tends for big dogs. And I saw Yellow, but maybe one of his last shows or two might have been more, more competitive. But some of them, I don't know what he even brought them dogs. That one show I saw, and I refereed it. I asked, it was Jackie and Braddock. I said, as good a dog as you had on that McLean dog, he had. I said, why y'all bring a dog like that? This kind of a dog. I said, he ain't even in the game. I said, it makes me wonder how you got your bets laid. I said, I wonder how y'all betting on this deal. I said, man, where did y'all find this dog? But the Yellow dog, I'm not gonna take nothing from him. He won 5, and he was not. That JR was a much faster dog, faster mouth, faster dog. I think he was a much as far as overall dog. I think he was the better of the two.
Okay.
And and another thing I always notice about dogs, and I like the trait. I like that trait if you had it. Of back there, in your bloodlines.
Yeah.
Generally, you can see it really, really brought out real strong at looking at Mr. Holland's dogs on the YouTube. Somebody did a video of them dogs. You can look at them. One of the things they do, and my dogs did the same thing, they wag their tails down low. And like if you got the dog between your legs and you're doing a show or something, you feel them hitting your legs with that tail. They be wagging it and they hit it.
Yeah.
And they don't flag their tails. They stay down low. And if you notice on a lot of your Carver dogs, a lot of them dogs, you'll see that same trait. And I always said it was a bull terrier trait myself. And so a lot of times they had them, what they call a rat tail on them. All that, I liked all that. I like that, all that sort of stuff. Like I say though, they don't make them win though.
Yeah.
But it's a good trait. And there was one other thing, but I forgot it. But I hope I cleared up some stuff. These dogs today they all pretty well blended with a little bit of everything. Some of them are doing a little more family breeding. I did know a few fellows that were, doing a lot more stricter family breeding. But even with that, you only can do it just for so long, and then you have to add something back into it.
Yeah.
And to get you got every now and then you got to put a little hybrid blood. But I think the safest way to do that is try to study your pedigree out. And you got these real good tools today, like on the Pitbull Battle database, where you can do test breedings of various dogs. Is you look at the predominant? Let's say your dogs use a lot of Chinaman, a whole lot of Chinaman, and you needed to add something. You might look at the pedigree of the dog, and you might see where they might have started out with maybe one of the first 2 or 3 breeds, to see some of them dogs that were used and their bloodline. If any of that's still around and it's still good dogs, then that would be a good choice to add it back in. In other words, what I'm trying to say is like this. I told Vernon when I found out about it, I didn't know it, but there was a young great grandson, I reckon, and I understand he's still living today. He'd be our age. Had some of them Kobe dogs down there in Texas, and see, for some strange reason, those Hensel dogs, they are hard. If you had some real straight Hensel dogs, they just didn't click with everything for some reason. And normally you see they'd only use about a quarter of it. So like Don Maloney used a lot of Hempfield blood and about a quarter of that. And like the Rage bitch and all them type dogs, you see about a quarter of Hensel there. And so for some reason, unless if you bred Hensel dogs, you might have been all right if you kept checking them and whatnot, and they kept coming strong. But it didn't seem to really cross with anything else, that well overall.
Oh, man.
And they didn't produce that catalyst type whatever. And so that's one of the things in breeding. You got to look for that catalyst. Some of them catalysts, and it used to be some of them old family dogs. Somebody's kept or preserved them. I know back then that Tudor's Red Bill stuff was real good, and I think that some of them dogs that California Jack had, they were good, and maybe some still using some. If they still got some of their actual Redboy, I understand his one fella still does. Yeah. And Katie sold all her dogs that she had that was left on her yard. I understand a dog man from Tennessee come and got those dogs and took them back there. And I understand for once in a blue moon, every so often he has a pig picking. They don't do any. They just have just a pig picking. Everybody goes there and talks, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And I had the number and all. Her son Bo gave it to me. And I said, well, I don't have nothing in the game anymore. I don't have, I'm gonna just, I'm not gonna call him. I said, I'm not driving all the way to Tennessee. And I said, I don't have no skin in the game no more. I just not done I could have won all and whatnot, but I said, no, I just leave it be.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I was trying to talk to Katie. I went there. She owns a transmission shop too. And I was trying to talk to her, but Bo came out and he kind of run interference on me. I think Bo and her, they had a kind of a falling out, is what he told me. That's her son.
Yeah.
And I was trying to locate a fellow named Rocky Nelson, see where he was at and what happened to him. And of course, Katie would have known because he spent a lot of time on Katie's yard. But he told me where he was at and whatnot. And he told me a little bit about what happened between Bass and Katie and how she ended up with the dogs. But he kind of he just wouldn't let me. I just wanted to go. I've been tempted to just ride back over there sometime and just go up there and knock on the door and ask to speak. I know she's still, running it or managing it or whatever. Yeah. But see, Katie, you wouldn't know Katie. You saw Katie when we knew Katie. You saw Katie today, or when she later on when she remarried. She married into kind of well-to-do fellow that he run a lumber yard and all that, like Home Depot, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And there in Florence, she married that fellow. He was an older man, and so she kind of just quit everything. And when I run into her one time, and she invited me to come. She was running a place where she had a business doing T-shirts and stuff, putting stuff on T-shirts.
Yeah.
And she invited me over there. She invited me to come over and talk with her. Well, nothing like that was on my mind anymore, and I should have went, and I didn't go. I might have could have got some good information out of her at that time, but now it's almost impossible to get to see her, to even talk to her. It's like I would love so much to sit down with her and go over some of it, and see because she did tell me that she had run the pedigree down. And the last thing, and this is the last rumor. 8-man, I talked about 4 hours with 8-man, and I brought up about the trice dogs that my daddy had.
Yeah.
And he said, let me stop you a minute about it. You said trice dogs. He said, and Mr. Till had trice dogs. He said a dog man that talked with Katie, she told him that Redboy's sire was a trice bred dog. Which, if all that was true, would make things even better. But true or not, we don't know. And if she had a pedigree, had run out of pedigree, I don't know. Yeah. She kind of talked like she had. And but nobody. There may be somebody that sit down and talk with her when she was running that registry and all, and she might have told them. Because what I was wanting to do was, I made some copies of a lot of my pedigrees that I had, so she could help all the more pedigrees she could get from other dog men. She could build her own registry, because you couldn't get nothing out of UKC. Yeah. If you could get all the breedings off of UKC, off your bulldogs, man, you talking about something that help a lot of everything. But they ain't gonna release none of that. Just ain't gonna do it. Well, all right. I reckon I've said enough. And one thing about Argo, that Argo dog,
yeah,
I liked him better than Jocko.
Argo,
just because he was a faster mouth dog. He was a really good dog. What happened to Argo is kind of what happened to our Homer dog. They sold Argo down the river. Them gamblers gambling.
Yeah,
sold him down the river, and he liked and not lost. He come awful. He come really, really close to winning, even though he was not been put up, properly worked and all. He still liked to pull it off. His suckers were sweating it there for a good while. But he was a bulldog, I'm gonna tell you that. And I will say that, and I might be said this before, Apples was holding her on with Molly B. She was keeping Molly B off of her, and that's when Mr. Edwards called for a feint, and so they instead of Scotty was handling Apples. I think what they might have done. She might have been feigned and maybe couldn't get her feint, but they had to break them apart. But normally you don't break them apart. The first thing you do is a good referee is going to have a stick or something with him.
Yeah.
And he can run it down in there and break the dog's tooth loose out of the lip. And they don't have to get them out of holes. And but what he did, he broke them apart. And you're supposed to put both dogs supposed to be at their feet on the ground. Scotty held Apples up with her feet off the ground, and when they turned them loose, Molly B went right into her chest, and that was the turning point then. And Mr. Chavis, he went bonkers, and he was telling Vernon to call the foul. He said, Mr. Chavis, I can't call a foul. Your handler ain't calling no foul. Your handler's got to call the foul, and I got to recognize it. I said, he's the one that screwed up. I said, he's the one that put you at the disadvantage. And Mr. Taylor got mad at VJ, and he never had nothing to do with Scotty after that. Scotty used to handle all his dogs, and he never had nothing to do with after that happened. And of course, they sent me later. They sent another daughter off of Molly B. Beat a daughter off of Molly B. Beat another one of Chavis's dogs in that same show. But they knew the Apples was holding her own there for a while, and which is highly unusual. I didn't see no other dogs hold her own. Period with that monster. And she had her, I think she was controlling her head. But when Scotty did what he done, they wasn't no chance that she could come back from that. That dog was just too devastating. And of course they finally had to pick her up.
Molly B must have been an animal.
Man, I'm telling you, you could just like a full-grown male lion hitting a zebra, running at full force, and all the dust go up in the air and everything. That sucker just done in. That's how she come at you. She come at you. She could move so fast. She was light, a big dog now, but she was lightning fast, and she just come with her mouth wide open. And wherever she put it, she got into your dog's body. Wherever she put it, that dog was seriously hurt. Yeah, I mean, you had to have a dead game dog, and then they couldn't win. Only thing you beat her is you had to have a monster like her, and you don't see them kind of dogs come along every day.
Yeah.
Those type ace dogs, you just don't see them.
Yeah.
And once in a blue moon, one of them will pop up. And she was one of them. And she had a tremendous lung capacity. You could look at her. But she won 8. She actually won 8 of them. No ifs, ands, and buts. They tried 8 times to beat her, and they did not one of them. So I don't think none of them. Most of them didn't survive. Yeah. She was a true double. I think she was a double grand champion. She was the real deal. And I think Harry Haregrove got her, and then somebody stole her. And I don't know what happened after. I don't know if they ever recovered her, but I think he might have got some dogs off of her. I saw the Penny Kennels boys had one brought down here, and he was supposed to have been off of Molly B. And he was a really nice dog. I mean, everything was right about him, his actions and everything. And I told him, I said, boy, that's a really good dog. And they showed him against actually one Mr. Burns. He kind of got into some of them Jocko stuff and all. And it was real hot and all. And they just started messing with dogs. They didn't know all of what to do. And it was real hot. And the dog was too heavy. They had him too heavy. Dang. And he put on a show. He went right down to the bitter end. And I finally told him. I refereed the thing. I told I think it was Mitchell. Mitchell picked the dog up. I said, you ain't going to get him. It'll be a while before you get another dog like this. I said, this is a very good dog. Even though he's not going to win today, he's a very good dog. Pick him up. Yeah. I said, you bring him home to the house, I can save him. They didn't do it. And when they finally did pick up, he was too far gone. And I still tried to get him to come on to my house, and they didn't want to do it. Took him home, and he died. But I'm pretty sure he was off of Molly B. And he was a really good dog. Now he wasn't the monster Molly B was, but he was still a good dog. Yeah. And poor Mr. Burns, he was stepping 5 foot off the ground. He fairly won him one. You'd have to know Mr. Burns. I tell you, he was a heck of a fella.
Yeah.
You thought he'd won the $10 million lotto.
Yeah. Hey.
All right. Man, I think that's about it. I looked at the notes here, and I think I've said everything I can say. Yeah. And
I know.
Just let them know if anyone want to PM me. I'm still I re-upped my membership for one more year. I'm CYJ. I'm CYJ on they send me a private message. And let me say something about the cur dogs and all that.
Oh, go ahead.
One last thing. Vernon, when I sent him them two black dogs, Tango and Cash, an irate next door neighbor went and shot them. Those dogs they were showing tremendous potential. And then some of the dogs got drowned down there when he took the dogs back down there. But that Harley dog, and that Harley dog might have quit. Wesley said he quit. Berta said no. I don't know. I mean, I didn't talk about none of this stuff to 25-something years later. But when I gave him that Harley dog, and I'm making no excuses for him, I told him he ain't like Tango and Cash. I said, this dog don't even, plays like a big old puppy. I said, you done, this is the last of the Mohicans. One of his other brothers, Bumper, he was sterile. A fellow named Dennis owned him. I can't remember Dennis's last name. Owned him, and he just had to use him as a road dog. And he told me on one day, some fellas come there, and he stopped 4 dogs in a row with him. As soon as they get one out, he put a nut in, and Bumper wiped that one out.
Dang.
I mean, that's the kind of potentials they had. And then one of them was a retard. He was stupid, and he was a retard, so did away with him. And but they evidently the inbreeding was really, I was really onto the right lines of dogs, I believe. And I was just trying to, and Cecil and me were running in the same direction. I was trying to bring up a Bully Son, more of that Bully Son Art Missy stuff. But anyhow, there was also a black female. Dennis had her. She was a good dog. And Vernon King got her, and I think either she got stolen when the dog stealing went on in his yard with the Mexicans. She either got stolen or she got drowned in that flood. And I lost my Winchester dog. He got drowned. I mean, some of the better dogs he took back. And see, with Harley, I tell him, I said, Vernon, take this dog. He's the last of the Mohicans. Put him to the side. Let him get about 3 years old. Just leave him alone. You got plenty of other stuff here to play around with. I said, leave him alone. I said, if you need to breed him one time, see what he throws. Do him like Pat Stompanato. They never did nothing to Stompanato. I said, if he produces some good dogs, then just leave him alone. I said, that's it.
Yeah.
But dude, he must have fired up Maul, and he told me he had a lot of ability, and so he did, and he lost.
Dang.
And so, and then that mouse dog lost her. But as it went on, when he was running into some serious problems, and I saw the veterinarian report. He mailed me a copy after he had that big win down there with some of them known Mexican dog men with that Dolly dog. When he started going back into them later, I don't know what they were starting to use a rub. I don't know what they were using. So even the worst of them dogs that we had, they'd go 40 minutes easy. For it didn't end up showing game.
Yeah.
I mean, his condition, the type of condition he could put on a dog, they wouldn't no fall out no 30, 40 minutes. There ain't no way. If he blowing hot and you can't breathe and all that. He told me that a couple of them dogs, before he could get them home, they were already dying in the box, in their boxes. And he said he tried to get one of them to the vet, and it died before he could get it there. And the vet did a blood sample, and I saw the report on that. And I don't know what they was using. And I asked him, I said, did you do the wash with the alcohol and all that, and the milk and alcohol and what, the rubbing, the underproof alcohol and whatnot? I think he told me he did. And I said, well, I don't know how they're doing it, but so he kind of got discouraged with it. And anyhow, there's some losing dogs on there in the pedigree right up front. And whether they were rank curs or whether they were you picked them up or whatever happened, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm talking about something that I didn't know nothing about about 25, 30 years later, and just talking with him in general. But still, whatever goes down, goes down. And if you don't know all the ins and outs, especially you get up there running with the big boys.
Yeah.
And a lot of them big boys, there's lots of big money. And just like with that Homer Jeep match, there was a $10,000 forfeit because when we tried to get Sundown hooked up with that, it was with Jeep at 42 pounds. That was the forfeit there. It was a $10,000 forfeit. So them cats was trying to save their forfeit, and Mr. Stevenson's family did their best and to talk Mr. Stevenson out of letting them use that Homer dog. They told him, don't do it. Let them go get a dog somewhere else. But see, they might have been halfway into the keep, and that Ruby bitch, her name was Ruby. That's the one that beat Mayfield's Easy. She was off of Zebo. That dog that they were going to use against Jeep, Ruby the dog got off the chain and went over and got on Ruby. Ruby curved her out. That Ruby dog was a bad dog. And so they didn't have no dog. So they were scrambling, running around trying to find them a dog. And that's how all that went down. And no, trying to be no reflection on the Jeep dog. And then I talked with Mr. Truitt, and my partner watched it, and Mr. Truitt, Mr. Gainey, and they didn't really have much to say about it. Even though it went like 4 hours, they didn't have a whole lot to say about it. They just felt like that they liked the losing dog is what they said. They didn't really have much to say about it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And as history shows, the Jeep dog won. The Homer dog, like you say, if you go through with it, you really don't really try to make no excuses. Yeah. You just suck it up, be a man, suck it up, and go on.
Mm-hmm.
and one last thing. If you got some good dogs and they're your dogs and you like them, like I've said before, don't necessarily give them. And some other fellows out there, they got their own dogs, and see a lot of them is like football teams. They like their different fans. Some like Mayfield, some like Boudreaux, some like this, some like that, some like the Redboy fan dogs and so forth. Chances are, if you give them any of your dogs, they're going to treat your dogs a hell of a lot worse than they're going to treat theirs. So you have to be careful about some of that. So anyhow, I've just seen a lot of that in my game, and anytime you're showing some dogs, try to pre-keep them a little bit.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna win no dog pulling the weights or showing the dog. If you bring that dog fat, if that dog's fat looking, they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna win anything.
Nope.
Yeah. Okay. Was any other questions at all?
No, sir. That's about it. I know you're a little under the weather right now. I appreciate everything. I appreciate the interview because I know you're not feeling the 100%.
Yeah. Let's say I'm that 1976 King Golden Flare guy on YouTube, and then I'm CYJ on the other. If somebody wanted to send me a PM or whatever, but I sent one fellow a PM trying to see if he knew the guy's name that had all them dogs down the road from Mr. Bass. Yeah. It was off of Cleo and Redboy. And I say he had about 20 or 25 of them dogs.
Mm.
And as far as the colors and that black color, I might have confused some of them on that black color. I want to say this one last thing. The black is more of a bull terrier color. And a lot of them dogs that came out of England, if you go back and look at the old pedigrees of them dogs, a lot of them, they came white. They were white with a lot of them had probably black ticking in them, the skin, and then a lot of them come black. And I think I hope I ain't repeating myself. No. I talked to Mr. Johnson. Well, I called him when he first brought it. He first showed them dogs he had in Ralph Greenwood's magazine. Had an article and some pictures of the dogs. there was what he called a Johnson American Bulldog, is what they call them today.
Yeah.
And they supposed to had them dogs back before the Civil War. His family had them. He said he came directly from England. And so I was talking with him, and I asked him. I said, "Do you get any black ones? Any solid black ones?" He said, "No, I never got a black one." He said they come colored like them Kobe dogs with white with brindle patches, red brindle patches, and maybe, and I don't know if he got a brindle or any other colors, but generally the white was the predominant color on them, and then they would have some mixed colors. But he told me he never got a black dog.
Oh, dang.
And now today, if you look at his dogs then, and I think there's one man still trying to stay more to the tradition of the Johnson dogs.
Yeah.
You look today, them suckers is done trying to turn them suckers into a doggone English bulldog looking dog. They're trying to get them squattier.
Yeah.
Get them snub faced, taking all the functionality out of the dogs just to produce a type of show dog.
Yep.
But them dogs were working dogs, and the ones that he had, them were some nice looking dogs. I mean, as far as what they were nice looking dogs.
Yeah.
And they may have been the actual true English bulldog, which we call the American bulldog today.
Yep. Yep. Yes, sir, man.
Okay.
I appreciate
all right.
you. I appreciate
that's
you.
all I can do today. You can go ahead and sign us off.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Y'all brothers and sisters, salute to y'all down in the chat. I appreciate all of y'all. Listen to the video. Hope y'all enjoyed the interview. Y'all stay safe out there. Y'all stay legal out there. PBK9.
Amen.
Yes, sir. You was about to say something?
No, I said amen to that. Stay safe and whatever.
Hey, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all stay safe. Y'all stay legal. PBK9s. And we out.